Hello, and welcoming you to the Being Your Own CEO interview series. My goal is to introduce local Victoria solopreneurs by giving them some profile on YouTube and to help them get acquainted with this wonderful world of Google. I love finding out what makes them tick as business people, and I know that we can all learn from some of their observations. Today, I want to introduce Melissa Huston of Huston and Kraus Financial Services. We met at a local networking event called Host. And after hearing about each other's businesses, we decided to get together for coffee. And then when we had coffee, I realized that some of the services that Melissa does are really important to solopreneurs. So we decided to do this interview. So Melissa, tell me, to get us started off in the right way, tell me what services your business provides.
Thanks, Lolan. That was a great intro. So I am licensed for life insurance products in BC and Ontario. And that title sort of encompasses quite a large number of things that can be really valuable for people. In addition to life insurance itself, which most people are familiar with, one of the most important ones I think people need to be aware of is disability insurance, which is receiving a monthly payment if you're not able to work due to injury or illness, to help supplement the income that you're not able to earn while you're not able to work. There's also critical illness insurance. That's a little less known, but it's very valuable. It's a lump sum payment if you are diagnosed with a serious condition. The top three are cancer, stroke, and heart attack. So those are the ones that happen the most, but there's a whole list of conditions that would pay out. And that can be really valuable at that time for people. Then there's another one that's specific for business owners called business overhead expense insurance. And that's sort of similar to disability coverage, except that it's more of a reimbursement for your usually office expenses or other business expenses. And that is to help prevent the personal disability coverage from being used to pay for those expenses. The disability is really meant to be offsetting your income, what you need to live on. Whereas this other one is meant to cover the costs that you aren't able to pay for while you're not able to work.
So now have you got more in the list? Did I interrupt?
One more.
Okay. You've already got me going.
There's also health insurance, which most people are familiar with, just for getting your everyday medical expenses covered, prescriptions, dental, general health care. So that's also something that can be really beneficial to anyone, but certainly if you're self-employed, you don't have an employer covering that for you.
Right. Or if you're a small business with maybe one or two employees, that could be a benefit you could offer.
Indeed, that's often a very valuable way to retain or attract the right kind of employee, especially in a tight market right now. There's a lot of people needing to hire people, and there doesn't seem to be enough employees. So if you're trying to show that you're a good employer, that's certainly a benefit to provide that for them.
Yeah. So you got me all excited with this business overhead thing and the disability thing.
Yeah.
Because that's, as we chatted a little bit when in our coffee date, that was where I went in my mind. My goodness, I wonder how many people have any kind of insurance to cover them should they ever become ill or whatever. So I'm guessing, as you said, the disability insurance that covers your living expenses, cover your rent and whatever,
Mhm.
your usual living expenses. But the business overhead, I'm guessing, would be you have to show that you're actually spending in order to get a reimbursement for what you're covering. Am I guessing that right?
Yes, that's right. So you have some flexibility with what that amount of coverage is. So
Mhm.
you can sort of figure out, what your rent is, if you have office space, your
Mhm.
staffing costs, internet, all your expenses in a month, what that totals up to be. And then you can buy that specific amount of insurance. So it really varies depending on what your business is and what the amount of those expenses are.
Mm. So what if a person is doing their business from their home office? How would that work?
There are some plans that still cover that. Usually it depends if you're able to use so say you have a house with a mortgage and
Mhm.
you're using a portion of your home for an office. If it's eligible on your tax return
Mhm.
as being able to take a portion
Yep,
of
yep.
that,
Okay.
then it qualifies.
Okay. That makes a whole lot of sense to me because yeah, we those of us who work out of our homes, we know exactly what proportion, what percentage, and we've got, or at least I do, I've got it all worked out very, very carefully.
Mhm.
So that's I mean, there's a lot here to think about.
There is, yes.
Boy, oh boy, there's a lot you need to know here.
I know it's hard to narrow it all down for a short interview, so I try
Oh,
to hit the key parts.
wow. So I was going to say, I mean, I thought you were just going to say all these other things, and we all know about life insurance, but you define those in a very nice, concise way. So, I mean, we're looking at let's look at what would happen for your average solopreneur,
Mhm,
maybe that works out of home or maybe doesn't work out of home, but if without some kind of an insurance that it covers what happens to a person when they come down with something that puts them out of commission
mhm.
for several months or whatever. I mean, what happens to them?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
guessing their
that's
business
really
kind
what
of
it
goes
boils
down
down.
the sinkhole.
Yeah. Because the other thing to really note, and if you're already self-employed, you probably know this, but you have the option of having EI insurance with the government. When you're an employee, that's a requirement. But when you're self-employed, you actually have that as an optional thing. And
Yes.
most of the self-employed individuals I know opt not to do that. And I
Yeah.
do think it's actually more cost effective to buy your own personal insurance than to pay towards that. So in that case, that means even with short-term illnesses, disability, you don't have any protection unless you are going out of your way to get some. So I'll tell a little story of a client who became my client because she experienced this situation. She's an acupuncturist working out of her home, and she injured her knee. And so she wasn't able to stand to perform her practice. And so she was off for, I think, about a month. But then she went back to work before she really should have because she had all her expenses. She had a staff member that she still had to pay, and she needed income coming in, and she didn't have it. And so she got herself working again. So it was actually not good for her health to push herself, really should be healing. But also she was a month in the hole of, fairly substantial losses when,
Mm.
she had kids to raise and things like that. So usually what happens is people dig into their savings, and that was a month, it was an injury, but if you get sick, that could be a lot longer.
And
I,
I might interrupt.
yeah,
If they have savings,
yes.
because
Yeah.
there are so many people now who don't.
Very
So
true.
much of what they earn goes into actual living.
Mhm.
What is it I read? I think I heard it on the radio recently, that a lot of people are one paycheck away from
Mhm.
nothing.
Yeah, if you're already overextended with debt, then it could be a really serious situation
Yeah,
very quickly.
yeah. Whoa. So
Mhm.
that's what I really hope that the solopreneurs that stumble on this this video,
Yeah.
that they begin to think about what
Mhm.
uh, what 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 how are they protecting themselves
Mhm.
so that they can carry on as usual.
Mhm.
So I think I mean I'm so impressed with the way you defined each of those services. I thought I was going to have to dive in and dig all those details out, and you described that so well. But one thing I really want to do before we end this little short interview is for you to say how can people find you,
Mm.
and can't in that process, could you explain your process when you begin to work with a client? What happens? What would they expect to occur if they connect with you?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So what usually happens, we have an introductory complimentary meeting. There's no charge or anything. It's usually very conversational, discussing what their very specific situation is, because everyone's is different. And I sort of do a little bit of an analysis to see where they might have some holes in their financial plan. I try to look at things very holistically. And then we sort of prioritize, because the other thing is, um, all the different types of coverage can be very valuable, but people are often on a budget. So we try to look at what's most important to have covered and work our way down and what they can afford. Because the other thing we don't want is to overextend people when they're trying to protect their financial well-being. So it needs to be a balance.
And that is such a I think that I'm so glad you said that. So yeah, so the way I take that is I'm not going to try and sell the world to people just because I'm going to make a commission.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
going to spend some time figuring out what is really going to work for them.
Yes, yes. What would be really valuable in protecting them, because it's about protection, it's about financial security and peace of mind, so that you're going to bed at night feeling like you're safe. If something happens, you're prepared.
Mhm.
And you know what? Needs change over time too. So if they were to become my client, we would do a review, usually every year or so, or as things change in their lives, to
Mhm.
make sure that things are changing with their protection as their lives
Mhm.
change.
Wow. So how do people get a hold of you, Melissa?
Yes. My email address, the easiest way to get me is insurance@melissahuston.com, and I'll spell that because it's a little different. It's melissahuston.com. And my website is also just melissahuston.com.
Right on. Wow. I'm so thankful that you were so clear about all of this, and I certainly have walked away with um, an understanding, a greater understanding. I hadn't realized there was a difference between disability insurance and business overhead insurance, or that you
Mm.
had a longer title for that. Business overhead something you said.
Oh, expense,
Expense.
business overhead
An
expense.
expense. Okay. So I hadn't realized that there was a difference between those two. So I sure learned something here. So thanks for that. So I really want to thank you for taking time out of your business to do this.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, really.
And I also want to sort of thank you for kind of being my guinea pig, because this is the first time I've done an actual live streaming from Zoom to YouTube. So I learned something, which we will have to find a way to correct, I think, which we can. So I want to close this session with an invitation to anybody who is a solopreneur to join my Being Your Own CEO Success Circle, which meets every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. We get together because we want to we enjoy each other's company after 5 years, and people come and go, but we give and receive support. We exchange knowledge. We do some experimenting together. We build relationships, and of course, we all know that business relationships come before business. And what else do I want to say? Well, you can also you can participate as a panel member in Zoom, or you can come to my website and just view the video, or you can go to YouTube and view the videos. So my website tries to make it easy for anybody to do whatever works for them. So you see